Carson here, welcome to the Neuro Sunday episode, and today I want to show you a few very neat little tricks to this little almost Screamarts-like beat that I made. You can grab this project from my Patreon below and click here for my academy. I have awesome start to finish courses and a lot more are coming, so stay tuned, but right now let's jump into it. Right, here is the beat once again. Alright, so the drums. The shuffle. And the hats. Basses. And we have some effects. So this beat sounds a little like Screamarts, but this is not what I wanted to talk about today, because I found this very cool free plugin that basically Ableton should contain it, but it doesn't, and I really miss it, but it's so cool. So we have the main bass. And you know that Neuro basses really love notches and peaks, especially before distortions, because they create very different extra harmonics based on the frequency peak in the spectrum. This is what really Ableton misses. So this awesome plugin, Sweep, does a job. So as you can see, we can modulate even 16 different notches. You can change the speed, and you can do a whole lot of things with that. If you unclick the sync, you basically have two separate notch movement here, and that creates a stereo effect. I really love that, but if you don't want that, just click on the sync and you can tweak the resonance, and also you can tweak the mathematical algorithm between these notches and peaks and whatever. I'm not a professor of mathematics, but anyway, this is so cool because you can grab these dots and you can place the notches movement wherever you want in the spectrum. You can play with the Q, so you can narrow the range where you want to apply these notches. And also what you can do is, if you activate the extra knobs, you can do even crazier stuff. For example, you can make peaks on the lower part or the higher part of the spectrum and notches in the mid. Now 16 is too much, so let's go with like 4. But this is such a cool device to play with, especially with this bass. And it will continuously rise or move, creating very nice eternal effect basically, and that is such a cool stuff. As you can see, I placed 2 instances here. Now I messed up the second one, but that doesn't really matter. Without these, the bass still sounds cool, but I think it definitely needs something that moves in the spectrum. You can hear that arr, arr. Now this is a lot more than a simple, for example, phaser or whatever you want to use here, because these are actual notches with actual movement that you can place anywhere in the spectrum, and I so love it. Also, you can make them notch or peak or whatever. There is another plugin I want to talk about here today, because in this beat, I have this sound that sounds really nice, but originally it was like this. So it's basically the same sound as previously the main bass, but what I did is I applied kilohertz Formant filter, and that creates that interesting and unique tone. And also some changes with the filtering to create some interesting bass out of this preset with the Formant filter on. But anyway, I resampled that and applied the spectral time, because without that, I wanted to make it a little more lasery, and the spectral time is such a cool device for that. All you need to do is drop it on, crank it up to the maximum, crank up the mix to the maximum, and play around with the tilt. So what it does is basically it modulates the delay, the spectral delay in the spectrum going up or going down. So if you crank the tilt up, it will go up in the spectrum, or just go down. creating a very nice lasery effect that probably you would use the kilohertz disperser for that, but that creates a little different sound. Let's duplicate it. But honestly, this messes up the low end of the sound too, so this is a very cool effect, but to me, the spectral time, pull back the time if you don't want to have that huge delay on your sound. So this creates a lot more natural sound, also with adding the lasery effect on top of that. So right now let me break down what I did for this beat. So the original bass was this one. We have a sub and the mid bass. So I use a very simple FM here, one sine modulated by another sine. And over time I modulate the FM modulation between these two to get a lot richer sound as I go to the end of the beat. Right, so first I added the shaper. But the sound is too dry, so what I would do is add a chorus before that. So if you used, for example, Serum, just use unison voices, it's almost the same. But I wanted to add more. Then with the choruses before the distortion, I get the tone that I want. After that, there is another chorus to create a little furrier sound, and this is the point here. Before the distortion, I wanted to get a richer sound, but after the distortion, I wanted to have a little furrier sound. Okay, so I overloaded the sound with OTTs. But actually this created a very nice tone that definitely needs to be treated. And I also modulated this EQ peak to get a little interesting tone, not only just, you know, a static FM going up on pitch, but some color modifications. The utility tool is here because of the overdrive, because I felt that we need even more drive to push the sound into the face a lot more. But, you know, it was a little too much, so I used a utility to pull back the gain. So this way the overdrive won't react too heavily, so it will not create that very heavy extra overtones that I love, but it was a little too much without the utility. Okay, so I dropped the suit to tame the higher frequencies. And another EQ to get rid of the very lows and, you know, treat the highs a little more. Because I'm using a separate sub and the ending saturation. So this was the original sound, but then I found the sweep, this free little thing, and I added them here to the end. So this creates almost like a phasery kind of sound, and before the overdrive to create extra overtones. And I really love this. This is, again, could be created with a phaser, but I love how you can customize, you know, going between notches or peaks or whatever. And this track is only here to add the vibrato on the second half of the bass. Alright, so this was the original bass, but I wanted to change it a little. So this is where I went to the first hit, you know, with the Formant filter and some other modifications. But as you can see, the chain is almost the same. But at the end, I dropped the vocoder. This messes up the sound a little more, so to create a unique tone out of that. And I didn't even change the filtering because, as you can see, I applied this light envelope with 25% modulation on the filter that is in bandpass mode, and we're not using any saturation or distortion on the filter. Right, so after that I resampled it, and as you may saw, I dropped the flanger, this spectral time to create the lasery effect, some extra cut on the highs, final saturation, and basically that is all. The other sound that I really love is this layer, especially on the lasery stuff. And that is just a sample from this bass. You know, I resample that and play it around with the pitch and the texture settings to find some interesting tones. But I wanted to make sure that they don't collide with the other layers, so the main bass of the sound. This is why the EQ is here. I tried some frequency shifter on it, but I didn't really like it. And the 3 instances of choruses made it sound a lot more like a synth or more like modern sounding bass layer. But the ROM preset from the resonator is really what makes the sound unique, I would say. Then some EQing and a house effects to make it really wide and stereo field. Then we have the ending bass, where I use the main bass, but I put a resonator in the chain before the OTTs. And also change a few stuff, for example, the LFO. And I added another operator. And some other modifications to find the sweet spot of this sound. Now this is a really cool sound here, even with the resonator or without the resonator. Yeah, so resonators could be very handy for basses. And an extra noise layer on top of everything is crucial. That is basically just a sine with the noise and crush together and then chopping off the lows and the very highs. So I bet you were able to consume lots of really cool techniques here. Right, so don't forget that you can grab this whole project from my Patreon below with tons of other very cool projects. And click here for my academy to learn a lot more. See you guys next time. Peace.